Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Year One for you newbies to the show. This podcast is really meant to dive into the successes, the fears, the hacks, the good, the scary, the history, all the good and the bad about first-year ownership and starting an agency. I'm your host, Christian Ganey. I'm a co-founder and partner at Outerkind. We're a creative agency based in Denver, Colorado. It's worth noting that today's show is fully supported and produced by Indie Agency News. This, if you didn't know, which I'm sure all of you do, it's the global home for independent agencies. You can check out more at indieagency.news for all the latest. Quick recap. Why are we here? Well, we're here for three things. Number one, we want to educate people on the realities of starting something new and taking the leap into the agency services world. Number two, the mission really is to serve those in the agency world, the talent that exists around the world, provide them with a perspective and maybe even some confidence around the realities of new agency creation. And then the third is maybe hopefully to inspire a few of you out there, in a world of agency consolidations, lots of turbulent employment, scandals at award shows. We won't talk about that today. There may be an opportunity right in front of you. So thanks for being here. I think today you're going to learn a lot about entertainment-led strategies. These are my words. Will correct me. It's also one of the best websites I've ever seen for agencies, so kudos for that. Sailor was recently named one of the outstanding independent agencies of 2025. And joining me here today, I am thrilled to welcome and talk to Will Trowbridge, who is the founder of Sailor. Hey, Will, how you doing?
Hi, Christian. What an introduction. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, I wrote it, so I ran through the whole thing a couple of times. It was well rehearsed.
And let me tell you, those glasses look good, man. Look at us.
Look at us. People might think that this is a LensCrafters commercial, but it is not. What I'd love to do is dive into a couple things. Look, as an agency co-founder myself, I get asked a ton of questions about why and where and how. And it's always interesting to me and hopefully to the audience to learn a little bit of somebody else's story. Yeah. And I love starting these conversations with the moment you knew that you needed to start something. Was there a tipping point or a specific story or moment? Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So, wind back the clock to 2021. I had just left Netflix. I was there for a few years running their comedy brand, Netflix is a Joke. And I left the company after sending every single person I knew there, essentially that knew my name, a personal love letter, just to remember me. And I don't know really why I did that, because I don't think I knew at the time that I was about to start an agency, but I had a feeling that network and that community was going to be really important in the future. And so, spent about a month, luckily fielding a few job offers and things like that after, but kept on kind of thinking through the reality of kind of what I was going to miss from Netflix and ultimately how I approached work in general. And I just realized I kind of I like to work, and I also obsess over whatever I'm working on. So much so that I expect obviously the work and the result of that work to pay me back in full, to meet me at my obsessive level. And if they're not, I kind of resent it. And so I think that I quickly learned after spending a few weeks considering other jobs that I was never going to feel that way unless I started something of my own. And ultimately, at that point, had worked on the brand side of entertainment for about a decade. All of my friends at all of these entertainment studios, I worked at Disney prior to Netflix, held the marketing budgets to, for these titles and brands and things like that they managed. And I had worked with a plethora of different agencies and production companies up to that point. So I knew what I liked and what I didn't like. I knew the people who held the money. And that gave me the confidence that I could build something better, an agency that I would have wanted to work with, and that ultimately all my friends and colleagues would have trusted inherently because they knew me. So that kind of was the tipping point I needed to take the plunge and take the leap, and chaos followed, but
Yeah.
we'll get into that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we should go into that actually. We will in a second. But like the vision I have in my head is you in a kitchen and you're thinking about all these ingredients of you starting something, and you talk about these potential clients, or they are colleagues before you start an agency that hold budgets, and you've got these connections in the entertainment world. And so you just put these things together and you're like, hey, I think I can start something here.
Yeah.
And so I guess the next question, which I like to ask, that I think people really appreciate when they're on the sidelines thinking about this, is when you started this agency, it doesn't sound like you necessarily had a client or a group of clients that were like, hey, Will, wherever you go, I'm going. You had to build something, you had the connections, and then you connected those two things together. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So I had never worked in an agency before starting Sailor. So I had this enormous blind spot around what it actually took to make a successful agency. I did not feel like I knew the ropes or anything like that, and I could learn from a mentor and build something that was a little different but largely the same, and like have all this trusted network. And I didn't have any of that. All I had was kind of my understanding of kind of each piece of the pie over the course of my career on the brand side. And I had all this network there and friendships that I built over the years, that I felt like I could tap into. I built enough kind of a cachet there to ultimately go to them and not feel like a sales pitch, but more of a, hey, that's Will. I trust him as a human, to give him this project that obviously I'm being evaluated on, and I wouldn't just give that to anybody, and I felt like I could convince at least a few people in the early days to take a shot on me, and luckily they did. Big shout out to people like Aaron LaRosa at Prime Video and some folks at Netflix and folks at Postmates for taking a huge leap on us.
Yeah, and those are clients that mean so much to new agencies, that you will pour your heart and energy and everything you have into it. And because it happens at such a critical time. And you mentioned the timing, 2021, so we're just coming out of pandemic, in and out sort of fogginess. Just as we talk a little bit about, you mentioned entertainment and humans, and that was a thread that I saw in doing some homework before this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the entertainment side of things. Like, you've spent your entire career in entertainment, and you've admitted that your ignorance around starting an agency was like this big, and you're like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
And tell me how you were able to thread the needle for a need that you didn't know existed, between this entertainment specter or content and the clients or potential clients that you knew.
Yeah, I think it's even greater than entertainment. I think it was my social background that I knew was, at 2021, still Netflix got it. They were investing in it in a really material way, but still so many other entertainment studios were just kind of coming to terms with the investment level necessary, what was a, good ROI, what are goals that were achievable or whatever. Like, everyone was used to kind of like free social up until that point. And, Instagram and other platforms were kind of shutting the doors on businesses. And so the game was changing, and those who understood the game really became very valuable. And so my understanding of, I think, social at that time, allowed me kind of this opportunity to be like, I don't really see a lot of social agencies out there that get it. I understand that, and maybe I don't need to understand how an agency works to build something, inherently progressive and also new in this space that kind of fills this white space. I don't need to know how to build the perfect agency. If I build something for my former social client brain, if I build something uniquely valuable for that, those people are going to be the new leaders in these marketing orgs in just a couple of years. let me get in early with them, build something that caters specifically to them. And ultimately that is, I think, what gave me the confidence to start building even without knowing how to, knowing that at its core, I just really believed in the mission. And I ultimately believed that like social over time was going to win, which it is. And it's been amazing kind of building for that eventuality rather than trying to kind of use someone else's playbook to build an agency that was maybe good at something else and try to, convert it into a social agency or something like that.
And I think there's something really powerful about what you're saying about like, I didn't know the errors or the things I needed. I just knew what the mission and direction of the path was. And I can distinctly remember many times thinking about in my early days in agency, well, I don't know how to traffic ads, or I don't know how to build a website, or where's the copywriting talent? And I got to plug all these things in. And I actually think sometimes the best work comes from individuals and teams that actually are not burdened by a historical reference or have some sense of ignorance around like, this is the way things are traditionally built. I mean, hell, we're in the creative services business. Right. And so finding that new way is oftentimes really powerful. I did not know that. That's super interesting. I mean, I did think a little bit about, or I wanted to ask you about how culture at Saylor impacts the work. You talk a lot about being good humans and just sort of featuring or focusing on a mission. Talk to me about how that impacts your work at Saylor.
Yeah, I actually think it gets back to that core difference that I even think about within myself, like this sort of like group of misfits who ultimately all didn't come up through the same, college or same agency background or whatever. It's not like it's just a bunch of buddies who have worked together at a giant holdco, split off and build something together. This is like truly the Saylor employee base, the Saylor staff is like from all walks of life. They're all really at their core, like creative and obviously strategic, but they might have made TV before this, or they might have worked on, more so project management. And now they're working on accounts and they used to do production and now they're doing their editing here or whatever. Like they all come in with the goal of, being impactful and building something that they felt like they hadn't seen before in the marketplace. And that sort of spirit is what I think connects us rather than it is sort of like, I don't know, some former ladder that we were all on together or whatnot. So sure. I think that spirit and that culture you're talking about is kind of brought together a group of people here who would never have found each other otherwise, unless they were all seeking the same thing, which was a different way to work and a different feeling when they went to work. And ultimately, like, there to make good work rather than to battle it out in the politics or to follow that one creative leader to the end of the earth or whatever. They're all here to ultimately make the best thing they can and to enjoy themselves while they do it.
The land of misfit toys often produces really good results. So maybe that's what you're describing. I mean, like everyone together, sort of pulling together for, a common goal. I would be remiss if I did not ask about a topic that is probably on a lot of people's minds who are sitting on the sidelines, especially in our universe of sort of creative services and agencies, is the impact of AI. And I know that you probably have maybe something to say about that. I'd love to know how you think about AI, how you deploy it, or maybe how you avoid it in certain instances.
Yeah. Well, AI was definitely not part of the plan during the first year of business, but now it very much is. It's interesting. Like Saylor, like I said earlier, is born out of this white space I felt like existed. It was almost like I was surrounded by marketers who really didn't care at all about social. They all cared about trailers and key art and whatever. And I was like the social guy being like, pay attention to me, and I was like, maybe this is worth really jumping into and investing while everyone else is battling it out over there for the same thing, And I think that like AI, I have a similar mindset around where it's important for the creative industry to understand, and just like every industry, let's be honest, to understand that AI is going to be a big part of what we do moving forward. it's up to us to understand how it's going to impact our lives and our creative work, obviously, and be able to manage that rather than it kind of cut us off at our knees or whatever. So I have this sort of similar feeling right now where I'm like, everyone is freaking out. And of course, there's a lot of unknowns with AI, but it's always kind of been there. Machine learning is not like new as of 2025. So like, it's more about harnessing it and understanding it and investing in it so we can be the best at it rather than, letting it take us out or catch us kind of, with our blindfold on or something like that in a year's time. There's just so much unknown around it, and also like already so much good work that it's producing that it's important to just understand, like, we're at the beginning, first inning, just like I felt like social was, back in 21. It's like, this is going to only grow. It's a bet that this is going to be a huge part of where we're going. Let's get really good at it. And we're deploying it for sure within Sailor, but also just launched a, creative studio that's AI first in many ways. We want to be able to learn how to build something from scratch in this new world where these tools exist, instead of being like, oh, let's do it using the old playbook, and hope to adapt it just like everyone else is. It's like, no, like let's lean in and invest and be early adopters and get really damn good.
I love it. I think what you're saying is it's a lot about balance, right? It's not all the way throttled this way or that way. I've just got a couple more questions for you. I think you might be able to answer this probably better than most, given your background of not a lot of agency and more on the entertainment side. But when you started the agency, what were you initially worried about that never came to fruition, or something that really surprised you along the way? Could be a good or a bad thing. I'm just super curious.
The TikTok ban.
That'll throw a wrench in the plan now, won't it?
Literally, I've been terrified of the TikTok ban ever since it was first floated back in Biden, or I don't even know what, back in 2010. I don't even know when it's been around. But yeah, hilariously, there's been so many kind of storms on the horizon that haven't, taken shape and destroyed our, metaphorical ship. It's like, I don't know. I think in the early days, I was doing everything. I didn't have a co-founder or, some agency operator to call. I actually really liked the feeling of learning new things every day. And I was totally on YouTube University, learning how to do accounting, figuring out how to, pay my taxes and to, stay up to date with all things EDD. It's these random things that when you don't know them and you don't fully understand them, they can really freak you out. And I think made it my business to learn everything I could about the facets of business that I had never had the opportunity to get a window into until I started one. So that was a, massive part of my early education. And a lot of those things I thought were the big, scary, wild things that were going to destroy us, cash flow is and will always be for independent indie agencies a big deal. But it's in the early days, oh my God, you are moving personal money and freaking business money back and forth. You're figuring it out. You're like, oh my God, am I not going to be able to pay my employees? What am I going to say to them? Then you're like, oh my God, I got paid in the last second. Here, now everyone gets their money. It's just those things kind of come and go. And it's funny, over time, you just get used to it, and they don't become scary anymore. So,
yeah, I mean, I think there's a special place on the level of bravery for entrepreneurial spirit, those individuals that are by themselves starting an agency like you. I've talked to a few people on this podcast that have done that. I had the good fortune of doing it with people I trusted and known for 10 or 15 years, 4 of us together. And so there's a sense of trust that you can, hey, why don't you handle accounting and I'll handle this and you handle that. And you're on YouTube trying to figure out how to pay taxes. And I'm like, there's just such, it just tells the audience that it's possible on your own to do this, even in a time like 2021, where we forget about how challenging a time it was for all of us, socially, business-wise, personal relationships, all of it. I mean, for those, that listen to this podcast on a regular basis, they know what the last question is. And I love to throw this one out there, which is, there's people that are likely listening to this that are sitting on the sidelines working at maybe a holdco, and they're just like, this sucks. And I feel like I've got this cool idea, and maybe I want to dive into something. Like, what advice or what would you tell them?
Yeah.
As sort of anything that you would think of and that you would tell them?
Yeah. I think that you will be amazed with what you're capable of. I think that everyone I've talked to about starting this company has the same question, like, why did you do it? And how did you do it? And it's like, why? Like, everyone has a reason for doing something new, especially when they are really used to something, when they really fully understand something. It's like, you have to ask yourself what's next. And if you can't think of an exciting opportunity at your current organization or within your current industry, like, you have to start thinking about what you could ultimately build that is so fulfilling because it's yours, and I just think people are pretty incredible and are very capable. So even if you have doubts, talk to your friend. Maybe they'll want to go in on it with you. Maybe you just need a backup, or maybe you're just bullish on an idea and you want to take the leap. I think, like, there are little things like, making sure you have money that you need to maybe ask yourself, can you ask your partner to cover you for a few months if you don't make any money, or things like that will allow you to take a little bit of a leap. But at the end of the day, you're going to be so thankful you did. And even if you fail and you join another operation and organization right off the bat, it's still going to be a wonderful learning experience, and one that you'll think back on fondly.
Yeah, I mean, surrounding yourself with people you trust and making just a little bit of a plan maybe sometimes helps.
Exactly.
Situations.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you guys are kicking ass. I love the work. I think it's spectacular. Your story is as good as the work that you produce, just in terms of like taking the leap and not really knowing and jumping into the darkness of the tunnel and trying to find the light at the end of it. So, Will, it was a pleasure getting to know you today. Thanks for spending some time with us. And all the best to you and your crew.
Thanks so much, Christian. This has been awesome. Yeah, best of luck to you as well.